Some traders think the path to profitability is about collecting as many strategies as possible, like stacking tools in a toolbox. But here's the truth. Most of those tools never get sharpened, and the trader ends up swinging wildly without precision. The fastest path isn't in doing more, it's in doing less, better. That's the paradox of trading mastery. Depth beats breadth every single time. And if you want a real edge, you've got to commit to the primary process. The primary process is simple to describe, but hard for most traders to actually follow. It's the discipline of isolating one structured trade setup, proving that it has a genuine edge, and then becoming an expert at executing it with consistency. This process requires patience and focus, two traits most traders skip in search of shortcuts. But once you accept that this is the path, everything else becomes clearer. You're no longer chasing noise. You're building a foundation. You're treating trading like a craft instead of a lottery. Why does this process matter so much? Because most traders waste years jumping between strategies, chasing trades that look exciting, or copying someone else's calls. They confuse activity with progress. But every time you switch setups without proof, you're starting from zero again. The primary process saves you from that cycle by forcing you to focus your effort on one thing, test it, and master it. It's not glamorous, but it's what works. Choosing one structured trade doesn't mean you've committed forever. What it means is you've chosen a place to start. A single setup that you'll vet thoroughly. It could be a mean reversion structure, a breakout setup, or an auction edge you understand. The point is not the setup itself. The point is the focus. One setup allows you to do deep work, to see how it behaves in different market conditions, and to stop diluting your energy across random trades. Once you've chosen that setup, the next step is proof of concept. This is where you backtest, review charts, and track metrics until you know whether the trade truly has an edge. You're not guessing anymore. You're not hoping. You're proving. And in proving it, you're building the confidence you'll need to execute it live without hesitation. Confidence doesn't come from wishful thinking. It comes from proof. The beauty of this process is that it doesn't just save time. It accelerates growth. Instead of wandering aimlessly through endless strategies, you're building depth of expertise in one. And depth creates mastery. Just like a craftsman who spends years mastering one tool, you'll start to see details others miss, nuances that only repetition can reveal. Over time, this makes you faster, sharper, and more consistent than traders still chasing the next big thing. But here's the catch. The discipline has to start from day one. Too many traders think they'll do the work later, once they've made enough money. That's backwards. If you can't be disciplined with one setup now, you won't magically become disciplined later. Execution is not about waiting for success to give you confidence. It's about proving to yourself that you can stick to your process before success shows up. This shift changes everything about how you view the market. Instead of waking up each day asking, "What will the market give me?" you start asking, "Will the market offer my setup today?" That single question keeps you grounded and prevents overtrading. You stop trying to predict every twist and turn, and instead, you wait patiently for your proven condition to appear. That patience is where the consistency comes from. And when you do get your setup, your job is simple. Execute with precision. No hesitation, no tinkering, no chasing confirmation. You've already done the proof of concept work. Now it's about trust and discipline. Each execution builds a track record, and that track record becomes the foundation of your trading identity. You are no longer just another retail trader. You're a specialist. Specialists survive. So here's the takeaway. The primary process isn't just a method, it's a mindset. It's about rejecting the chaos of more and building the power of less. It's about proving your edge with data, mastering it through repetition, and executing it with consistency. And the earlier you commit to this process, the faster you stop wasting time. The market is uncertain, but your process doesn't have to be. Master one setup, and you'll change everything. Traders often underestimate how destructive randomness can be. Every time you take a trade outside your defined process, you're teaching your brain that rules don't matter. Even if the trade happens to work out, the lesson it reinforces is dangerous. That undisciplined action can be rewarded. Over time, this corrodes your edge because it makes you less consistent. The primary process, on the other hand, builds discipline into your identity by making every action purposeful. Another hidden benefit is that it trains you to track meaningful data. When you're bouncing between 10 different setups, your stats are muddied. You can't isolate what's actually working. But if you commit to one setup, your data suddenly becomes powerful. You can calculate expectancy, risk to reward, and execution errors with clarity. The numbers start to tell you a story about your edge, and that story becomes your compass in the market. Think of it this way. Every setup has a personality. Some are fast and aggressive, others slow and grinding. Some fail often but deliver huge R multiples when they win, while others offer a steadier flow of small gains. You can only learn that personality through immersion. By staying with one setup, you're not just building familiarity, you're building intuition. And intuition grounded in repetition is a competitive advantage. This is also where emotional control comes in. When you know your setup, you stop second-guessing it. You stop asking, is this trade worth it? Because your vetting process already answered that question. Your only job is to execute. That doesn't mean the fear disappears, but it does mean you can act despite the fear. And that is what separates professionals from amateurs, acting on a plan instead of reacting to emotions. Of course, the process isn't glamorous. It's not flashy to say you've been studying one setup for months, while others brag about catching every market move. But sustainability lives in the unglamorous work. The traders who make it are the ones who are willing to slow down, simplify, and do what others won't. The primary process protects you from the noise, because you're not trying to win every battle. You're waiting for your battle. If you embrace this approach, you'll also start to notice a shift in how you measure progress. Instead of focusing only on profit and loss, you'll start tracking execution quality, rule following, and emotional control. These become your leading indicators. P&L is just the lagging indicator that shows up after. This change in measurement is liberating because it gives you daily wins, even if the market doesn't pay you that day. This mindset builds resilience, because you know that one losing trade, or even a string of them, doesn't define you. What defines you is your ability to stick to your process and let the probabilities play out. That's what turns trading from a gambling-like experience into a professional practice. You're no longer attached to single outcomes. You're attached to your process. And that attachment is what creates longevity in the business. Imagine for a moment how much time traders waste trying to reinvent the wheel. They buy courses, jump into chat rooms, or chase hot setups posted online. And each time, they think they're getting closer, but in reality, they're starting over from scratch. The primary process eliminates that endless reset. By sticking with one setup, you give yourself the time to graduate from beginner mistakes into true expertise. There's also an identity shift here. Most traders think of themselves as participants in the market, trying to catch whatever move shows up. But the trader who masters one setup thinks differently. They see themselves as a specialist. Their identity is rooted not in reacting to every price move, but in waiting for their moment. Specialists don't chase, they anticipate. And that identity shift transforms not just your results, but your confidence. Another thing that happens is you start to refine your trade management. When you know your setup inside and out, you see patterns in how it develops. You notice when to scale, when to cut, and when to let it run. This refinement makes your edge sharper, because you're not just taking the setup, you're extracting more from it over time. And again, that comes only from repetition, not from juggling multiple setups at once. One of the biggest traps in trading is the illusion of confirmation. Traders crave certainty, so they add rules, indicators, and filters, thinking they're reducing risk. But most of the time, what they're doing is feeding their emotional need for comfort. The primary process keeps you honest. Does this rule make the setup more profitable? Or is it just a way to soothe your discomfort? That question alone can save you years of wasted effort. Ultimately, this path shifts the challenge away from the market and back onto you. The market is always uncertain, and no amount of strategy hopping will change that. But your process is within your control. By focusing on one setup, proving it, and mastering it, you're controlling what you can control. And that's what gives you an edge in an environment where everyone else is chasing what they can't control. So here's the invitation. Commit to the primary process. Pick one setup, do the proof of concept work, and dedicate yourself to mastering it. Yes, it will feel slow at first. Yes, it will test your patience, but it will also accelerate your growth in ways you can't yet see. Because when you stop chasing and start mastering, the game changes. And the sooner you commit, the sooner you start building a future in this business that actually lasts.